Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace. As you know, here on the Pace Report, for the last 15 years, I have been all over this city covering the music as it unfolds. And tonight here on the Pace Report is very special. One is that I had a chance to shoot the legendary Joe Farnsworth playing at the Cafe Bohemia in the West Village here in New York City. Now, this is my first time shooting at the Cafe Bohemia, and as you guys might know, the Cafe Bohemia over the last 50 years has produced some very important and iconic jazz albums, ranging from the great Thelonious Monk to Charles Mingus, as well as the great Randy Weston. Now, Joe Farnsworth has been a stalwart and the backbone of the jazz community for 30 years, backing the likes of the great Benny Golson to McCoy Tyner, Wynton Marsalis, as well as the great Maburn and George Coleman. Now, tonight here on the Pace Report, you're going to see highlights of him performing with the next generation of musicians with his quartet at the Cafe Bohemia. And I had a chance to sit down to talk to him, one, how he learned this music, and two, reflect on two of his very important music teachers, the great Art Taylor as well as the great Alan Dawson, as well as reflect on the life of the great Pharaoh Sanders. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of Mr. Joe Farnsworth performing with his quartet live at the Cafe Bohemia here on the Pace Report here in New York City. drummer is very important in the group because they have to follow the time, keep the time. Tell me how you learned and developed the role of the timekeeper of the group.
We're listening to a record now called Bring It On Home to Me. Lou Mitchell, Junior Cook, Harold Maburn, Billy Higgins, Gene Taylor. There was a massive snowstorm in New York City and Chick Corea and Al Foster, and everything was shut down. Couldn't get to this record day. And Harold Maburn walked from JFK to Midtown in 2 hours in a massive snowstorm and made this date. And so this is one of my first records that really inspired me. So I went to school to learn from Harold Maburn, basically from this record. He told me the first thing he told me was to play for him, not with him. And the second thing was I started playing with Junior Cook. And I kept bugging him like, what do you want me to do? How can I play better? What do you want me to do after each set? And he always had this kufi on and sunglasses on. And we played this gig in Brooklyn. This is 1991. And during the break, he was at the bar, and Miles Davis Walking came on with Percy Heath and Kenny Clark. He said, listen to that. Listen to that ride cymbal, that time. He said, that's all I want. He took off his glasses and he said that's all any of us want. It's like, that's why Billy Higgins worked so well, because that ride cymbal, he worked with everybody. That's why everyone loved Kloop. That's why I loved A.T. because he had my favorite. Yeah, so it was simply that, playing time. And playing time got me my first big gig with Benny Golson, playing time. And then that led me to George Coleman, and then George Coleman got me on with Pharoah Sanders. I'd never even listened to Pharoah Sanders records, but like Harold Maburn says, you can't swing hard enough. And I'm not saying I do, but I try. You know, so I just think swing hard and keep good time. And guys like Pharaoh, it works for Pharaoh, it works for McCoy Tyner, it works for Cedar Walton.
You know, it's very interesting. You were trained by two very important drummers, Alan Dawson and Art Taylor. And there's a lineage of great drummers that came from Alan Dawson. We're talking about Terry Lynn Carrington, yourself, Tony Williams,
Clifford Jarvis,
Billy Kilson,
Harvey Mason,
yeah,
John Robinson Jr.
Really?
Yeah.
What was
the most recorded drummer in the world?
What was some of the things that he taught you?
I can hear it to this day. Slow down, Farnsworth. Slow down. Make each stroke count. Slow down. That was the main thing. Slow down, make each stroke count. And the way he practiced the rudiments, he did each strokes, it was meaningful. And he'd do it very slow and then go up very fast, keep it up there, and then go down slow. And he was the first one to tell me, if you really wanted to play fast, you gotta learn how to play slow. You know?
Why do you think that guys like Gene Krupa and guys like Buddy Rich were able to master that?
Well, a lot of people mastered it. I mean, Sonny Payne sure did.
Yeah.
Art Blakey did. Just like...
Play slow, and slow fast. And what I meant by that, when you think of Gene Krupa, you think of Buddy Rich, you think of the tremendous rides that they did,
right.
But also they were very slow at their approach as well, as most drummers.
Well, they were in total control, man, a total master. I mean, listen to Buddy Rich on versus Max Roach. And we had this conversation with Antoine Roney in 1983 when I was 8th grade. Tony Williams got a lot of stuff from Buddy Rich.
Really?
You check out his snare drum, a lot of stuff. You can hear it on that record. And we sat and he showed me where it was. And it's a matter of dedication and persevering and just taking it. It's like because all those guys, the stroke counted, man. When you listen to Sonny Payne playing Old Man River, there's no one to play with that much power and speed. And he took a 10-minute solo, and then he got off the drums like. he just ran a 50-yard dash. I mean, if I tried to do anything like that, I would have been huffing and puffing like, whoa. He just got up there like, that was nothing. I've never seen a drummer like that. I also saw Buddy Rich too.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your impression of Buddy Rich?
Man, burn it, man. West Side Story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just total power, man. I mean, total control and power.
also read something very interesting that you said that Roy Haynes changed your life first time you saw him.
Yeah.
What was it about Roy's style that just opened your eyes?
It was like 1987. I saw him at Visiones with Dave Kukowski, Ed Howard, and I think it was Ralph. I think it was Craig Haney or Ralph Moore. I wasn't sure who's in it then. I'd never seen a drummer play with that much charisma, man. Like I had seen up to that point Alan Dawson, I saw Max Roach. I'd never seen anyone like Roy Haynes when he was doing it, and he played these tunes that had these hits at the end of the section. It was like a hook, da 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 da, and it came up every chorus. And he would do something different. Like I couldn't wait till he got to that point. And when he did, you're like, good God, man. And he was the first person he was playing all this. His like if he played Star Eyes, my Star Eyes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. His Star Eyes was like 1, 2, 3. This 4 was like made it like that, and he'd go bop, boom, bang, bang. I would go do 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 dang, but he made it so that it was like this, and that's what they call the big room. He made the corner note. He respected the corner note, so that someone like Bird could do all that stuff in there. That's why all the best drummers play with Bird, man. Art Blakey, Max Roach, Elvin Jones, Buddy Rich, A.T., Art Blakey. But Roy was like, to this day, I never saw a drummer play that good.
You know, you bring up Art Taylor, and I wanted you to tell me, and tell my viewers, why did he change the game of drumming? Because he was another guy that brought another vernacular to how percussion was played.
Well, he grew up in Sugar Hill in New York City, and it was around like Jackie McLean, Abbey Lincoln, Sonny Rollins, Monk. You know, he was telling me him and his boys used to go outside Bird's apartment and then carry Bird's horn and walk him to the gig. And they were too young to get in and wait for Bird to get out and come back and then bring him back. And his idol was Bud Powell. And he was all into fellowship, man. And my first lesson with him, all we did was listen to Sarah Vaughan. But he asked me, he said, why you want to study with me? He's like, man, like Jack McLean tipping the scales, Red Garland Trio, It's a Blue World. It's like that ride cymbal, man, it hooked me, man. Now, we all know Philly Joe's the king, and A.T., of course, said that. But you listen to Jackie's Bag with Philly Joe on A and A.T. on B,
A beast.
It was like straight. And he just had, and then like, the biggest lesson I met from him, that he was a human being. It wasn't like some guy, it wasn't like giant steps. It was like, man, we went out and had lunch, and we were talking about Sarah Vaughan, and we talked about his daughter, and he had a problem with this, or he wanted to do this, or he's getting money over here. I'm like, man, it was like a human being. And I was like, I was just thinking about records.
Why Sarah Vaughan?
Because I wish I knew. But he was saying that she was just the best, and
she was a complete instrument.
When I hung out with Roy Haynes all night, one night at the Blue Note, all we talked about was Sarah Vaughan and tap dancers.
Wow.
But he played with, now when A.T. did a special guest DJ show in KCR, and so he'd do like once a week for like 2 months. He did the first show was all on Sarah Vaughan, phrasing. Just like it seemed like it was like being like this like family, and like the music was up, and she presented herself like that, and he was so proud of her, and we just sat and he said, you know, we were listening to what was the name of the song? Anyways, like, do you know the lyrics to this? I'm like, not really. He's like, not really. He said, well, so you can't be part of the glory if you don't know the story. How are you gonna be up there with Joe Jones looking at you and Max Roach, and you're up there with Sarah Vaughan, and you don't know when to come in, when to come out, when to lay in there, when to lay out there, when to play time, when to get in the cracks. And he was A.T. way before he got on the drums. When he came into the club, you stood up, or you sat up straighter, and you talked clearer. The conversation went from like here up to there. I mean, he was like, when he got on the drums, it was just an extension of his personality. And when I saw that, and he was just playing Bud Powell and Charlie Parker, and this is what he told me. If you want to play the drums, listen to Sarah Vaughan and learn Bud Powell and Charlie Parker.
lost a very important jazz figure who you played for many, many years, the great Pharoah Sanders. And one of the highlights of the Pace Report was me interviewing him. His music's always been a spiritual force for me. He lifts me up in times when completely flatlined. Playing with him is no joke. Tell me the first time you played with him, and tell me some of your fondest memories and some of the stuff you learned from Mr. Sanders.
I was playing with Diana Krall, and I was out there for about a year, and I was young and I needed to move on. And she sensed it, and so she kind of fired us. And I was thinking, well, was that the right thing to do? Because we were making pretty good money, and I love her. So I got home from the gig on a Sunday night, and George Coleman called me, and he said, "You around?" I said, "Yeah, I just got back off the road." And he's like, "Pharaoh needs a drummer. Can you start tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he called Pharaoh, who fired whoever he had on drums, because George Coleman got me on it. And Pharaoh loved George Coleman. They're great buddies. And so I started playing, and then it went right back to what Harold Mabus said. Don't let anyone outwork you or swing hard, man. You can't let anyone. So whatever Pharaoh played, you have to match the intensity. But I'd already been playing with George, so I kind of knew. And Pharaoh was just happy because it was time. He loved that time. And the only thing he ever said to me, I played with him for 16 years, was if you're gonna do something, if you're not sure of something or make a mistake, make it hard, man. Hit it. Because to me it sounds good. It's never a mistake.
Right.
Just play what you feel.
Did you know it was kind of towards the end, last couple of years?
After he started using other people like 4 years ago, so I got out of touch with him.
Okay.
So I didn't know. I didn't know.
That hit everybody. Really.
Yeah, but there you go. It was like Pharoah Sanders. It was like Pharoah Sanders, like whatever you want to say, whatever you want, adjectives and people around the world, and then there's I'm playing with them, and it was like, how'd you get a gig with him? And it was like I just played in time, and then through the fellowship, someone got me on it. And then once I was on it, I made sure I stayed on it by just playing hard and swinging as best I could. I'm not saying I swing hard, but I try.
Well, you do, man.
I've seen you play. No, because there's other things. When I got to New York, man, when I first saw Ralph Peterson, and then I saw Jeff Watts, and then I saw Smitty Smith with the Jazz Tat, I said, man, I'm in really big trouble. And it was depressing because those guys were like, I don't know what the hell this shit is. This is unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, Jeff Watts with Black Codes, and then when Ralph Peterson was doing OTB, and I tried to play like that, and I couldn't. And I was like, I might have to stop playing. And I walked into the club, and I saw Louis Hayes taking a brush solo. That was just like, and it was like a divine intervention. And I figured I was just gonna go farther into bebop, man. After I saw that, I gotta find my own way. Because what Tane and those guys are doing, wow, that was stunning, man. In the early '90s. I mean, so not now, but when they started.
Because Joe, all these people you've played for, Benny Golson, Billy Higgins, Cecil Payne, all of these guys have different writing styles as well as different playing styles. So you kind of learning on the band stage was kind of trial under fire, right?
Yeah.
How do you tell musicians now, especially the ones that are in school right now, what do you tell the next musicians, the next generation, how to handle that type of pressure?
Oh man, I wish I could. It's so different now, man, because the music's totally changed. There's not really a Cedar Walton out there or a Benny Golson. There's no like real. I mean, there's groups, but like back then there'd be the Johnny Griffin group, the Benny Golson group, Pharoah Sanders group, Archie Shepp group, Clifford Jordan group. All these groups you could get into. Art Farmer group, Freddie Hubbard group, all this stuff, and they had music that you'd learn, and so there's a thing that they wanted, and today it's like everything's so meshed in together. It's hip hop, Robert Glasper, Kenny Garrett, all these great players, man, and it's thrilling, man. Or like Chris Dave, So everything's kind of changed, and it's so. I guess the only advice would be it just be true to yourself, like Al Foster said. I wish I could say something hipper than that, but I can't. You just got to be true to yourself, and then play honestly, man. Oh, you know what, man? I think with the biggest thing is like when I see Billy Higgins play. I sat there next to Max Roach and watched him, and Billy took this solo, and it was Baby Dodds, and Max said, Baby Dodds. He took a solo, said, Sid Catlett, and then he played some Max, and Max said, the king, that's the king. And Billy was smiling, and he wanted Billy stuff. Billy brought me back to 1940 that night, and he had it in his playing, but it came out as him. And so the main thing would be is that if I would give any advice to youngsters, not that they would listen, but if they did, is that, man, it's so fun to learn, and the more you know, the better you can play, man. If it's funk, learn all those James Brown stuff, learn from Papa Joe, learn from Art Blakey, learn from Max Roach. Those guys think it's like 200 years ago, but we knew them, man. They were here just not too long ago, man.
one of the big things of your legacy is One for All. And you guys pulled it off for 16 records. You guys together for a while, man.
Yeah.
You're the co-founding member of the group. And looking back now, every single one of you guys have done some tremendous things to jazz, as far as composing, performer, teaching. What is it about that group, do you think, that just made you guys personify what jazz was doing moving forward?
Well, I mean, we all loved the same things, man. We all spoke the same language. I mean, when I came to New York, I wanted to be in the school of Cedar Walton and George Coleman, and then I went to school with Eric Alexander, and he was basically the same thing. He was in the school of Harold Maburn and George Coleman. So that connected us. And then I knew Steve Davis from Antoine Roney, and he was in the school, literally in the school of Jack McLean. But I first saw him with Art Blakey. So he was playing with Art Blakey. And so when me and Eric were playing up at Augie's, I said, let's get the group, let's get Steve Davis down and play with us. It was an instant hit. And then my brother James went to school with the trumpet player Jim Rotundi. And so that made a great front line. And all we needed was a piano player. And Brian Lynch had a gig at Visione's and brought in this piano player from Milwaukee that had lived in New York, Dave Hazeltine, who was in the Cedar. And it was like we all loved the same people. So it was like a match made in heaven.
Joe Farnsworth, what's jazz music mean to you?
Everything, man. I mean, it means, as AT said, you take care of the drums take care of you. Man, you know, it means fellowship. It means belonging to something. It means being a part of, like, the bandstand sacred. And, you know, I'm never alone, man. When I was a kid, that ride cymbal, playing along with Sonny Payne and Buddy Rich, that ride cymbal was like a party to me. It made me feel good. Even when I was upset, if a girlfriend broke up with me or something happened, I'd always go there and go ding ding, and it lifted my spirits, man. When I started hanging out with AT, he said the same thing. He said that, like, playing the drums like a party. And to this day, man, it makes me feel good, man, to be a part of that. A lot of people aren't part of anything. Kenny Clark said the hardest job he had in life was finding his role in life. And that really hit me. It's like, if that's how Kenny Clark feels, I mean, that's how I felt too, man. But like, I know if it's just between me and the ride cymbal and the God above. And whether I'm playing here or Carnegie Hall, it's still about Roy Haynes is still alive looking at you. Can you get up there or can't you?
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace. I'd like to personally thank the incomparable Joe Farnsworth for his time. Make sure you support his current CD, Time to Swing, which is now available on iTunes, Amazon.com, and CD Baby. Also, if you're ever in New York City, please visit the new Cafe Bohemia, which is in the heart of the West Village. For more information as well as directions and show times, please visit them online at cafebohemia.nyc.com. As always, people, I can't stress this enough. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube as well as Vimeo, as well as leave comments. And follow me on social media by way of Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.